Marcus Whitmore stares at the little girl with his own green eyes staring back at him. "She's mine, isn't she?" His ex-lover's voice trembles. "You have no right to ask me that." 9 years of secrets. One impossible choice. A daughter who doesn't know he exists. Before we dive in, comment where in the world you are watching from, and don't forget to click subscribe. The conference room smelled of leather and expensive cologne, the kind of scent that only existed in buildings where money moved in millions. Marcus Whitmore adjusted his platinum cufflinks, barely listening to the CFO drone on about quarterly projections. He'd built Whitmore Education Technologies from nothing, turned it into a $3 billion empire that revolutionized how children learned across 43 states. These board meetings were formalities now, theater for investors who needed to see him playing the role of engaged CEO. His phone buzzed. Another message from his mother about the charity gala. Another reminder that at 38, he should have produced an heir. Should have settled down with someone from the approved list of society daughters she kept updating. He silenced it. "Mr. Whitmore?" Gerald Chen, his director of community outreach, stood at the head of the table with a tablet in hand. "We're ready for the Hartford Elementary presentation." Marcus nodded, suppressing a yawn. Hartford Elementary was part of their pilot program, implementing new adaptive learning software in underserved communities. Good press. Tax benefits. He'd approved the project 6 months ago, and hadn't thought about it since. Hartford Elementary serves 400 students in the Riverside District, Gerald began, pulling up images on the screen. 78% qualify for free lunch programs. Our software has increased math proficiency by 32% in just 1 semester. The statistics washed over Marcus like white noise. He'd heard variations of this presentation 17 times in the past month. Different school, same story. Then Gerald said something that made his entire body go rigid. "I'd like to introduce the educator who made this possible. She's driven implementation, teacher training, and created supplementary curriculum that's exceeded every benchmark. Please welcome Ms. Naomi Richardson, 3rd grade teacher at Hartford Elementary." The door opened. Marcus's vision tunneled. Naomi Richardson walked in exactly as he remembered her, yet completely transformed. Her hair, those thick natural curls he'd once buried his hands in, was pulled back into a professional bun. She wore a navy blazer over a cream blouse, pearl earrings, sensible heels. But it was her, unmistakably her. The same warm brown skin, the same precise way she moved, the same intelligence in her dark eyes that had first captivated him 13 years ago when they were both graduate students at Columbia. She saw him. Their eyes met across the polished mahogany table. Her expression froze for exactly half a second before she recovered, her face arranging itself into professional neutrality. But Marcus had seen the flash of panic, the way her hand tightened on her laptop case. "Ms. Richardson," Gerald said warmly, oblivious to the sudden charge in the air. "Thank you for making the trip." "Of course." Her voice was exactly the same, that slight rasp that used to whisper against his neck at 3 in the morning. "Thank you for having me." She didn't look at Marcus again as she set up her presentation. Her hands were steady, practiced. She clicked through slides showing student progress, classroom integration, teacher testimonials. She spoke about adaptive learning theory, about meeting children where they were, about the importance of representation in educational technology. She was brilliant, articulate, passionate. Of course she was. She'd always been brilliant. Marcus couldn't hear a word. Blood roared in his ears. Naomi. Here. After 13 years of nothing, of silence so complete he'd sometimes wondered if he'd imagined the whole thing. 13 years since she'd disappeared from his life without explanation, leaving only a note on his apartment counter that said she couldn't do this anymore, that his world and hers were too different, that she was sorry. He'd tried to find her. Called her phone for weeks until the number disconnected, went to her apartment to find new tenants, asked mutual friends who claimed they didn't know where she'd gone. Eventually, he'd forced himself to stop, to move on, to bury that chapter of his life under layers of business deals and appropriate relationships that never lasted more than 6 months. And now she was here, standing 12 feet away, talking about educational outcomes, like she hadn't shattered him. As you can see from the data, Naomi was saying, her laser pointer highlighting a graph, students who were previously 2 grade levels behind in reading are now testing at grade level or above. The key was personalization. The software adapts to each child's learning style, but it's the human element, the teacher involvement, that makes the real difference. She clicked to a new slide. I'd like to show you some real-world examples. The screen filled with a classroom photo. 23 third graders grinning at the camera, holding tablets. Naomi stood in the back, her smile genuine, one hand resting on a desk. Marcus barely registered the other children. His entire focus locked on one little girl in the front row. She had her hand raised, caught mid-laugh, her face turned slightly toward the camera. Light brown skin, green eyes, thick, curly brown hair pulled into 2 puffs on either side of her head. His curls, his eyes, his nose. The room tilted. Marcus gripped the edge of the conference table, his knuckles white. "This is Zara," Naomi said, and Marcus heard something shift in her voice, a microsecond of hesitation. "She's one of our success stories. Started the year unable to read basic sight words. Now she's reading chapter books independently." Zara. The girl was looking at something off camera, her expression animated, intelligent. She had a small gap between her front teeth, a purple butterfly clip in her hair. She was holding a book, some kind of fantasy novel with a dragon on the cover. She looked exactly like his sister Charlotte had looked at that age. The same eyes, the same smile, the same everything. Marcus's hands were shaking. He pressed them flat against the table. "What's this child's full name?" The words came out harsher than he intended. Everyone turned to look at him. Naomi's face went carefully blank. "I'm sorry," she said. "The girl in the photo." "Zara. What's her last name?" Gerald frowned, glancing between them. "Mr. Whitmore. I'm not sure that's relevant to the presentation." "Richardson," Naomi said quietly. "Zara Richardson. She's my daughter." The room fell silent. Marcus heard his own breathing, loud in his ears. Her daughter. Not a student. Not one of the children in my class. Her daughter. He did quick math. The girl looked about 8, maybe 9. 13 years since Naomi left. The timeline fit perfectly. Impossibly perfectly. "How old is she?" Marcus asked. Mr. Whitmore, his COO, Patricia Valdez, interjected smoothly. "Perhaps we should let Ms. Richardson continue her presentation. We're running behind schedule." Naomi's jaw was clenched. "She's 9. She'll be 10 in March." March. Marcus's vision swam. He'd met Naomi in September. They'd been together for 8 months before she vanished in May. If she'd been pregnant when she left, the timing would put the birth in late February or early March. "I need to speak with Miss Richardson privately," Marcus said. "Now." "Marcus, we have the board of directors arriving in 20 minutes, Patricia said, her tone warning. "Reschedule them." He stood, his chair scraping against the floor. "Miss Richardson, my office, please. Naomi didn't move. Her hands were folded in front of her, her posture perfect. "I don't think that's appropriate, Mr. Whitmore. I'm here in a professional capacity to present our program results. If you have questions about the data, I'm happy to address them here." "This isn't about the data. Then it's not relevant to this meeting." They stared at each other across the table. Marcus saw Gerald and Patricia exchanging confused glances. The rest of the board members sat frozen, watching the standoff. "Everyone out," Marcus said. "Except Miss Richardson." "Marcus, you can't just dismiss the board," Patricia started. "I'm the majority shareholder. I can do whatever I want. Out. All of you." Patricia's mouth thinned, but she gathered her materials. Gerald looked like he wanted to protest, but one look at Marcus's face changed his mind. The board members filed out, murmuring among themselves. The door clicked shut, leaving Marcus and Naomi alone in the vast conference room. The silence stretched. Naomi stood perfectly still, her hands now gripping her laptop case like a lifeline. "Is she mine?" Marcus asked. "This is completely inappropriate. I came here to present educational outcomes, not to discuss my personal life. Is she mine? Naomi's composure cracked, just slightly. You have no right to ask me that. I have every right. That little girl has my eyes, Naomi. My exact eyes. I've looked at those eyes in the mirror for 38 years. Don't insult my intelligence. You need to stop. Right now. Marcus crossed the distance between them in 4 strides. Naomi stepped back, hitting the wall. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough to see the pulse hammering in her throat. You disappeared, he said, his voice low and rough. 13 years ago, you left a note and vanished. I searched for you. Did you know that? I searched for months. And now you walk back into my life with a daughter who looks exactly like me, and you expect me to just sit here and discuss math scores. I expect you to be professional, Naomi said, but her voice shook. I expect you to respect boundaries. Boundaries? You kept my child from me for 9 years, and you want to talk about boundaries? She's not your child. She's mine. Then take a DNA test. Prove it. Naomi's eyes flashed. I don't have to prove anything to you. You don't get to storm back into my life and make demands. You don't get to... Her voice broke. She pressed her lips together, visibly fighting for control. Marcus forced himself to step back, to give her space. His heart was racing, adrenaline flooding his system. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to corner you. But Naomi, please, just talk to me. Is she mine? Naomi closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were wet. You need to let this go. I can't. You have to. Why did you leave? The question burst out of him, raw. Why didn't you tell me? If you were pregnant, if you needed help, why didn't you tell me? Because you were you and I was me, Naomi said quietly. Because your mother took one look at me and saw someone who wasn't good enough for her son. Because I overheard her on the phone telling someone that you were going through a phase, that you'd eventually settle down with someone appropriate. Because I knew that the moment I told you about a baby, you'd do the honorable thing. You'd propose, probably. You'd try to make it work. And your mother would hate me and hate our child for trapping you, and you'd eventually resent us for derailing your life, and I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that to you or to my daughter. Our daughter, Marcus said. Naomi shook her head. I've raised her alone for 9 years. I've been up with her every night she was sick. I've gone to every parent-teacher conference, every school play, every doctor's appointment. I've worked 2 jobs to keep her fed and clothed and safe. She's mine, Marcus. She doesn't know you, she doesn't need you. But I need to know her. Marcus's voice cracked. You're telling me I have a daughter and I'm just supposed to walk away? I'm telling you that my daughter has a stable, happy life. She's not missing anything. She has me, she has my sister, she has her grandmother. She's loved and cared for. Does she know about me? Naomi hesitated. She knows she has a father who couldn't be part of her life. That's not true. I would have been part of her life. You didn't give me the chance. You would have been part of her life out of obligation. I didn't want that for her. I didn't want her growing up feeling like she was a burden, a mistake, something that happened to you instead of something you chose. Marcus felt like he'd been punched. You don't know that. You don't know what I would have felt. Don't I? Naomi's voice hardened. I met your family, Marcus. I went to exactly 2 dinners at your mother's house before I understood exactly what I was to them. The black girl their son was sleeping with before he came to his senses. Your mother actually asked me if I understood that you had responsibilities, that your family had expectations. She asked me what my intentions were, like I was some kind of gold digger. My mother is difficult, but she would have come around. She would have tolerated me at best. And our daughter. She would have been the mixed-race grandchild your mother showed off to prove she wasn't racist while simultaneously reminding everyone that you could have done better. The words hit home because they were probably true. His mother, Eleanor Whitmore, was a master of subtle cruelty, of saying all the right things in exactly the wrong tone. Marcus had spent years trying to please her before finally accepting that it was impossible. I'm not my mother, he said. No, but you're still you. The man who was building an empire, who worked 16-hour days, who talked about expansion plans and market share over breakfast. The man who canceled dates because something came up at work, who fell asleep during movies because he was exhausted from back-to-back meetings. You loved me. I know you did. But you loved your company more. And that's not a criticism, Marcus. That's who you are. But I couldn't raise a child with someone who was never there. Marcus had no defense against that. She was right. He had worked constantly. Still did. His business was his life. I could have changed, he said weakly. Maybe. But I wasn't willing to bet my daughter's childhood on maybe. They stood in silence. Marcus felt like he was drowning, like the floor had opened beneath him and he was falling through space. I want to meet her, he said finally. No. Naomi. No. You don't get to disrupt her entire life because you just found out she exists. She's 9 years old. She's happy. She has friends. She has school. She has routines. I'm not going to blow up her world so you can satisfy your curiosity. This isn't curiosity. This is my daughter. She's not yours. You need to understand that. You may be her biological father, but you're not her dad. You're a stranger. The door opened. Gerald stuck his head in, looking nervous. Mr. Whitmore? The board is getting restless. Should I tell them to reschedule? Marcus didn't take his eyes off Naomi. Tell them 15 minutes. Gerald nodded and disappeared. I'm leaving, Naomi said. She moved toward the door, but Marcus stepped into her path. Wait. Please. Just wait. He ran his hands through his hair, trying to think clearly through the chaos in his mind. You're right. I have no right to barge into her life, but Naomi, you have to understand what you're asking me to do. You're asking me to know I have a daughter and do nothing. To pass her on the street and pretend she doesn't exist. I can't do that. I physically cannot do that. Naomi's expression softened slightly. I'm not asking you to pretend she doesn't exist. I'm asking you to give me time, to let me figure out how to handle this without traumatizing my daughter. How much time? I don't know, weeks, months. I need to talk to my therapist, to a child psychologist. I need to figure out how to explain this to a 9-year-old. I'll wait, Marcus said. But I want to be involved in that process. I want to know what you're planning, what you're telling her. I won't push, but I need to be part of the conversation. Naomi studied his face. Why? Why does this matter so much to you? You've lived your whole life without knowing about her. Why can't you just go back to that? Because I can't unsee her, Marcus said simply. I can't unknow that she exists. And because every kid deserves to know both their parents if possible. Didn't you ever wonder about your father? Naomi flinched. Her father had left when she was 6. She'd spent her childhood wondering why she wasn't enough to make him stay. Marcus knew this because she'd told him once, late at night, her voice small and hurt in a way that had made him want to hunt the man down. That's not fair, she said. I know. I'm sorry. But it's true, isn't it? You wished you'd known him. You wished he'd fought to be in your life. I'm fighting. I'm asking. Please, Naomi. Please don't make me into your father. Tears spilled down Naomi's cheeks. She wiped them away angrily. You manipulative bastard. Is it working? Damn you. She laughed, a broken sound. Damn you for showing up in my life again. I was fine. I had everything under control. I know. I'm sorry. She was quiet for a long moment. I'll think about it. That's all I can promise. I'll think about whether there's a way to do this that doesn't hurt Zara. That's all I'm asking. Give me your number. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. I'll call you. On my timeline. And Marcus, if you try to find us, if you show up at our home or at her school, if you hire private investigators or use your money and connections to force your way into her life, I will disappear again. And this time you'll never find us. Do you understand? He understood. I won't. I promise. She typed his number into her phone, then looked up at him. Her eyes were red, her makeup smudged. She looked exhausted. I need to go. Tell Gerald the presentation is over. Tell him whatever you want about why I had to leave. I'll have my driver take you home. I can take the subway. Naomi, please. Let me do this one thing. She hesitated, then nodded. Fine. But have him drop me at the train station, not my house. Okay. She moved toward the door. Marcus caught her wrist gently. She froze. Thank you, he said, for considering this, for not just running. Thank you. She pulled her wrist free but didn't move away. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because maybe, if we handle this right, it could be good for Zara. Maybe. That's the only reason I'm even thinking about it. I know. She left. Marcus stood alone in the conference room, staring at the frozen presentation on the screen. Zara Richardson smiled out at him from the photograph, holding her dragon book, completely unaware that her entire world was about to change. He pulled out his phone and called Patricia. Cancel everything for the rest of the day. I need to go home. Marcus, you have... Cancel it all. I don't care, just do it. He hung up before she could argue. His hands were still shaking. He looked at the photo again, memorizing every detail. His daughter. He had a daughter. A 9-year-old girl who loved reading, who was smart enough to jump 2 grade levels in a single year, who had Naomi's smile in his eyes. The rest of the board meeting was a blur. He sat through it on autopilot, nodding at appropriate moments, signing off on decisions he didn't really register. Patricia kept shooting him concerned looks, but he ignored them. Gerald asked about Naomi twice. Marcus said she'd had a family emergency, that they'd reschedule her portion of the presentation. By the time he made it to his car, it was nearly 5. His driver, Thomas, opened the door without comment. Marcus had had the same driver for 12 years. Thomas knew better than to ask questions when Marcus looked like this. Home, sir? No. Marcus surprised himself. Take me to Riverside. Hartford Elementary. Thomas raised an eyebrow but pulled into traffic. The drive took 40 minutes, moving from the steel and glass towers of downtown to neighborhoods where the buildings got progressively shorter and more worn. Hartford Elementary was a 3-story brick building with a tired playground and a chain-link fence. Kids in bright backpacks streamed out of the doors, met by parents and caregivers. Marcus told Thomas to park across the street. He watched the exit, scanning faces. He didn't know what he was looking for. A glimpse, maybe. Confirmation that she was real. And then he saw her. Zara Richardson burst out of a side door, her backpack bouncing against her back, those 2 puffs of curly hair bouncing as she ran. She was laughing, chasing another girl across the playground. She moved like Naomi moved, all grace and energy. But her face, when she turned toward the street, was pure Whitmore. An elderly black woman intercepted her, catching her in a hug. The woman said something that made Zara laugh, then took her hand. They walked toward the bus stop together, Zara chattering animatedly, gesturing with her free hand. Marcus watched until they disappeared around a corner. His daughter. His daughter existed, breathed, laughed, lived a whole life he knew nothing about. His phone rang. His mother. He almost didn't answer, then thought better of it. Eleanor Whitmore did not tolerate being ignored. Marcus, darling, we need to discuss the seating arrangements for Saturday. Not now, Mother. Don't be difficult. I need to know if you're bringing someone. Ashley mentioned you two have been seeing each other. Ashley Brentwood, daughter of one of his mother's tennis partners. They'd had 3 dates, each more tedious than the last. I'm not bringing Ashley. Then who? I can't seat you alone. It throws off the entire table. Put me wherever you want. I don't care. Marcus, what's wrong? You sound strange. He almost told her. The words pushed at his throat, wanting out. I have a daughter. You have a grandchild. But he thought about what Naomi had said, about how his mother would react, and the words died. Nothing's wrong. I'm just tired. I'll see you Saturday. He hung up before she could press further. Thomas caught his eye in the rearview mirror. Are we going home now, sir? Yeah, home. But home felt different now. His penthouse, with its floor-to-ceiling windows and modern art and perfect emptiness, felt like a museum, a place where nobody actually lived. He poured himself 3 fingers of scotch and stood at the window, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Naomi was probably making dinner. Zara was probably doing homework, or reading, or fighting bedtime. They had a whole life, a whole world, that didn't include him. That had never included him. His phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "This is Naomi. I'll call you next week. Don't contact me before then." He saved the number immediately, staring at the message like it might disappear. Next week. He had to wait until next week. 7 days had never felt so long. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind spinning through possibilities. He imagined conversations with Zara, introducing himself. "Hi, I'm Marcus. I'm your father." No, that was terrible. "Hi, I'm a friend of your mom's." Even worse. "Hi, I'm no one important, just a man who shares your DNA and desperately wants to know you." By morning, he'd given up on sleep. He showered, dressed, went to the office. Patricia took one look at him and ordered coffee. "You look like hell," she said. "Thanks. Want to talk about what happened yesterday?" "No." "Is it going to affect the Hartford Elementary program?" Marcus thought about that. "No. Actually, expand it. Double the funding. I want that school to have everything it needs." Patricia made a note. "Any particular reason?" "It's a good program. That's reason enough." She didn't look convinced, but she didn't push. Marcus spent the day in meetings, but his mind was elsewhere. He kept pulling out his phone, checking for messages. Nothing. Naomi had said next week. He had to respect that. He had to wait, but waiting was torture. Every hour felt like a week. He found himself researching child psychology, how to introduce a parent to a child who didn't know you existed. He read articles about blended families, about fathers who'd missed years of their children's lives and were trying to reconnect. The articles were depressing. Most of them talked about how difficult it was, how many attempts failed, how important it was to go slow and follow the child's lead. By Wednesday, he was climbing the walls. By Friday, he was seriously considering showing up at Hartford Elementary just to catch another glimpse of Zara. But he'd promised Naomi he wouldn't, and he couldn't risk scaring her off. Saturday was the charity gala. Marcus put on his tuxedo and tried to care. The event was at the Grandview Hotel, a 5-star palace where his mother had been hosting benefits for 30 years. He arrived late, slipped in through a side entrance, found his assigned seat at a table full of people he barely knew. Ashley Brentwood found him during cocktail hour. "Marcus, your mother said you weren't bringing anyone." "I'm not." "Oh." She looked disappointed. "I was hoping we could talk. I feel like our last date was cut short. It was cut short because Marcus had feigned a work emergency to escape." "Sorry, Ashley. I'm not really in a relationship place right now. That's what you said last month." "It's still true." She pouted, which looked ridiculous on a 35-year-old woman. Marcus excused himself and found the bar. He was working on his second drink when his mother materialized at his elbow. Eleanor Whitmore was 72 but could pass for 60. She spent a fortune on personal trainers and estheticians and wore her silver hair in an elegant chignon. Her dress probably cost more than most people's cars. "Darling, you're brooding. Stop it. People will think something's wrong." "Maybe something is wrong." "Well, don't advertise it. The Hendersons are here and they're considering investing in your education initiative. Go charm them." "Mother, I need to tell you something." Eleanor's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. "That sounds ominous." Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. He couldn't do this here, surrounded by society women and business associates. "Never mind." Later. "Marcus Arthur Whitmore, don't you dare never mind me. What's going on?" "I said later." They stared at each other. Eleanor's mouth thinned. "Fine. Tomorrow. Brunch. Don't cancel." She swept away in a cloud of Chanel. Marcus finished his drink, then another. He made small talk with the Hendersons, with 3 board members, with a tech journalist who wanted a quote about the future of educational AI. He smiled, nodded, played his role. Inside, he was screaming. His phone buzzed. He pulled it out, expecting another email about work. Instead, it was Naomi. "Can you talk?" "Zara's at a sleepover." Marcus's heart stopped. He walked away from the gala, out into the hotel courtyard, away from the noise and lights. He called her. She answered on the second ring. "Hi," she said. She sounded nervous. "Hi. Thank you for calling. I've been thinking about what you said, about what might be right for Zara." Marcus waited, barely breathing. "I talked to her therapist," Naomi continued. "Dr. Chen has been working with her for about 6 months, helping her process some anxiety around school. I told Dr. Chen about you, about the situation. She thinks it could be beneficial for Zara to know you. Maybe, if we do it right." "Okay. How do we do it right?" "Slowly. Very, very slowly. Dr. Chen suggested we start with stories. I tell Zara about you, about how we met, about why I left. Not all at once. A little bit at a time. Let her get used to the idea of having a father. Then if she wants to, she can meet you. But it has to be her choice, Marcus. She has to want to meet you." "And if she doesn't?" Naomi was quiet. "Then you have to respect that. You have to let her grow up and make that decision for herself when she's older." "How long will this take?" "The stories, the introduction, all of it?" "I don't know. Months, probably. Maybe longer. Children process things differently than adults. Months." Marcus closed his eyes. "Okay, I can do months. What do you need from me?" "Nothing right now. Just patience. I'll update you as we go. I'll let you know how she's reacting, what questions she's asking. But Marcus, you can't push. You can't try to speed this up. Promise me." "I promise." "Dr. Chen wants to meet you, actually. She wants to assess whether this is a good idea, whether you're someone who should be in Zara's life. Would you be willing to do that?" "Of course. Anytime. I'll set it up. Probably next week." They were quiet. Marcus could hear music from the ballroom, laughter, the clink of glasses. It all felt very far away. "Naomi," he said. "Thank you for giving me a chance." "I'm not doing it for you," she said again. "I'm doing it for her. Every kid deserves to know where they come from if possible, and you seem like you actually care, which is more than my father ever did." "I do care. More than you know. I'll be in touch." She hung up. Marcus stood in the courtyard for a long time, staring at his phone. Then he went back inside, made his excuses to his mother, and went home. Tomorrow, he would tell Eleanor. Tomorrow he would start figuring out how to become someone worthy of being Zara's father. Tomorrow, he would begin the long, terrifying process of building a relationship with a daughter who didn't know he existed. But tonight, he let himself feel it. The grief of 9 lost years. The fear that Zara might never want to know him. The desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, this could work out. He pulled up the photo from Naomi's presentation, the one of Zara laughing in the classroom, and he let himself really look at her, his daughter, Zara Richardson, who was smart and funny and loved dragon books, who had his eyes and Naomi's strength and a whole life ahead of her. Whatever it took, however long it took, he would find a way to be part of that life. Monday morning arrived with rain hammering against Marcus's office windows. He'd barely slept again, his mind racing through scenarios of meeting Dr. Chen, of what questions she might ask, of whether he'd pass whatever test she had planned. His phone rang at 9:15. "Naomi." "Dr. Chen can see you Wednesday at 4, she said without preamble. "Her office is on Maple Street in Riverside. I'll text you the address. I'll be there. Marcus, she's going to ask you hard questions. About your intentions, your capacity to be consistent, your understanding of what this means for Zara. Don't go in there thinking your money or your charm will win her over. She only cares about what's best for my daughter." "I understand." "Do you? Because this isn't a business deal. You can't negotiate your way into Zara's life. Either you're all in, For the long haul, through the difficult parts and the boring parts, and the parts where she might hate you, or you're not. There's no middle ground. Marcus gripped the phone tighter. I'm all in. Whatever it takes. Naomi was quiet for a moment. We'll see. She hung up. Wednesday afternoon, Marcus left his office at 3, ignoring Patricia's protests about a conference call with investors. He had Thomas drive him to Riverside, to a small professional building sandwiched between a bodega and a laundromat. Dr. Chen's office was on the second floor, up a narrow staircase that smelled like coffee and old carpet. The waiting room was tiny, with mismatched chairs and children's drawings tacked to the walls. A reception desk sat empty. Marcus checked his watch. 3:58. At exactly 4 o'clock, a door opened. Dr. Chen was a petite Asian woman in her 50s, wearing glasses and a kind smile. Mr. Whitmore? Please come in. Her office was warm, lived in. Bookshelves lined one wall, filled with texts on child psychology and family therapy. A couch sat across from her desk, next to a basket of toys and art supplies. Have a seat wherever you're comfortable, Dr. Chen said. Marcus chose the couch. Dr. Chen settled into a chair across from him, pulling out a legal pad. So, she said, Naomi tells me you recently discovered you have a daughter. Yes, 9 days ago. And you want to be part of her life. More than anything. Why? The question caught him off guard. Because she's my daughter. That's biology. I'm asking about motivation. You've lived 38 years without knowing Zara existed. You've built a successful life, a successful company. Why disrupt all of that now? Marcus leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. Because I can't unknow that she exists. Because I looked at her photo and saw myself, saw my sister, saw my family. Because every child deserves to know their father if possible. Because I've spent 13 years wondering what happened to Naomi, and now I know, and I can't just walk away from that. What if Zara doesn't want to know you? Then I'll wait until she does. Or I'll accept that she never will. But I need to try. Dr. Chen made a note. Naomi mentioned your mother had issues with their relationship, that she made Naomi feel unwelcome. Marcus's jaw tightened. My mother has very specific ideas about who I should be with. She wasn't kind to Naomi. I didn't defend her enough. That's on me. Has your mother changed? No. So how will you handle it when Eleanor Whitmore meets her mixed-race granddaughter? When she makes comments, subtle or otherwise, that makes Zara feel less than. I'll protect Zara, even if it means cutting my mother out of our lives. That's easy to say now. But Eleanor's your mother. You've spent your whole life trying to please her according to Naomi. What makes you think you can stand up to her when it comes to Zara? Marcus met her eyes. Because Zara is more important. Because I failed Naomi by not standing up to my mother back then, and I won't make that mistake again. Because if I have to choose between my mother's approval and my daughter's well-being, there's no choice. Dr. Chen studied him. Naomi also mentioned you work constantly. 16-hour days. That your business is your life. How will that change? I'll make time. I'll delegate more. I'll restructure my schedule. Whatever it takes. Children don't operate on schedules, Mr. Whitmore. They get sick at inconvenient times. They have needs that can't be postponed for meetings. They require consistency, not just occasional appearances when your calendar allows. I understand that. Do you? Have you spent time with children? Do you know what it's like to be responsible for another human being who depends on you completely? Marcus hesitated. No, but I can learn. Learning takes time. Zara doesn't have time to waste on a father who's figuring things out. She's 9 years old. She has a life, friends, routines. You're asking to insert yourself into all of that. What do you bring to the table besides money? The question stung because it was fair. What did he bring besides money? I don't know yet, but I want to find out. I want to know what she needs, what she loves, what makes her happy. I want to show up for her. I want to be someone she can count on. Want isn't enough. Intention isn't enough. What matters is action. consistency, follow-through. Can you commit to that? Yes. Even when it's hard, even when work is calling, when there's a crisis at your company, when your mother is pressuring you, when Zara is being difficult or testing boundaries or saying she hates you. Yes. Dr. Chen set down her legal pad. Here's what I'm going to recommend to Naomi. If she agrees, we'll start a slow introduction process. I'll meet with Zara, talk to her about her father, gauge her interest and readiness. If she's open to it, Naomi will begin telling her stories about you, about how you met, about your relationship, about why Naomi left. This could take weeks or months. Are you prepared to wait? I am. Once Zara knows about you, if she wants to meet you, we'll arrange a brief supervised meeting, probably in a neutral location. You'll have maybe 30 minutes to an hour. You won't be Dad. You'll be Marcus, a friend of her mother's. You'll follow Zara's lead. If she wants to talk, you talk. If she wants to play, you play. If she wants to sit in silence, you sit in silence. Can you do that? Yes. After that first meeting, if it goes well, we'll gradually increase contact. More meetings, longer duration, maybe eventually unsupervised visits. But this process could take 6 months, a year, maybe longer. And at any point, if Zara says she wants to stop, we stop. Are you prepared for that possibility? Marcus felt his throat tighten. I'll be disappointed. Heartbroken, probably. But I'll respect her choice. One more thing, Mr. Whitmore. Naomi has been mother and father to Zara for 9 years. She's done everything alone. You don't get to come in and question her parenting, or try to change how she does things. If you disagree with a decision, you discuss it with Naomi privately, away from Zara. You present a united front. Can you handle not being in control? That was the hardest question yet. Marcus was used to being in control, to making decisions, to having the final say. But this wasn't his company. This was his daughter's life, and Naomi had earned the right to make the rules. I can handle it, he said. Dr. Chen smiled for the first time. I believe you might actually mean that. I'll talk to Naomi. She'll be in touch. Marcus stood. Thank you for considering this, for helping us figure it out. I'm not doing it for you, Mr. Whitmore. I'm doing it for Zara. Every child deserves to know their story, their history, where they come from. If you can be a positive part of that story, then it's worth trying. Marcus left the office feeling like he'd been put through an emotional ringer, but also hopeful. Dr. Chen hadn't said no. She'd said maybe, which was more than he'd had before. 3 days later, Naomi called. Dr. Chen gave her approval. I'm going to start talking to Zara about you. I don't know how she'll react. She might be excited or angry or scared, or all of those things. I'll keep you updated. Thank you, Naomi. Really, don't thank me yet. We're a long way from anything resembling normal. The waiting began again. Marcus threw himself into work during the day, but his mind was always half somewhere else. Every time his phone rang, his heart jumped. Every text from Naomi felt like a small miracle or a potential disaster. 2 weeks passed. Then Naomi called on a Thursday evening. I told her, Naomi said. Her voice was shaky. I told her about you, about how we met, about how much we loved each other, about how I left because I was scared. How did she take it? She cried, a lot. She asked why you didn't want her. I told her that you didn't know about her, that I made the choice to leave, that it wasn't your fault. She asked if you know about her now. I said yes. She asked if you want to meet her. Marcus's heart was hammering. What did you tell her? I told her the truth. That you very much want to meet her. That you've been waiting, hoping for the chance. She didn't say anything after that. Just went to her room. Is she okay? I don't know. She's processing. Dr. Chen warned me this might happen. We're seeing her tomorrow. I'll call you after. Marcus barely slept that night. The next evening, Naomi called again. Dr. Chen met with Zara this afternoon. Zara has questions. A lot of questions. Why didn't I tell you about her? Why didn't you look for us? Do you have other children? Are you married? What do you do? Where do you live? Why do you want to meet her now? What did you tell her? The truth, as much as she can understand. That we were young and I was scared. That you did try to look for us, but I disappeared. That you don't have other children. That you're not married. That you run an education company. That you live in the city. That you want to meet her because you just found out about her and you care. Did that satisfy her? Not entirely. She's 9, Marcus. She doesn't understand adult complications. She wants to know why her father wasn't there for 9 years, and there's no answer that makes that okay. Can I meet her? Naomi was quiet. She said maybe. She's not sure. Dr. Chen suggested we give her some time to think about it. Maybe show her a picture of you first. Let her see what you look like. Would you send me a recent photo? Something casual, not a business headshot. I'll send one tonight. After they hung up, Marcus went through every photo on his phone. Most were work-related. He finally found one from 6 months ago, taken at a charity run. He was in jeans and a t-shirt, smiling at the camera, relaxed. He looked like a normal person, not a billionaire CEO. He sent it to Naomi. She replied an hour later. Got it. I'll show her tomorrow. The weekend was torture. Marcus's mother called 3 times about Thanksgiving plans. He finally agreed to brunch on Sunday just to get her off his phone. When he arrived at her estate in Greenwich, Eleanor was in her element, holding court with 3 of her society friends. Marcus, darling, you remember Constance and Beatrice and Meredith? He didn't, but he smiled and nodded. Eleanor poured mimosas and launched into a story about the museum benefit. Marcus zoned out, pushing eggs around his plate. Marcus, are you even listening? He looked up. Sorry, Mother. I have a lot on my mind. Work, something like that. Eleanor dismissed her friends with air kisses and turned her full attention on Marcus. All right, out with it. You've been distracted for weeks. What's going on? This was it. The moment he'd been dreading. Marcus set down his fork. I have a daughter. She's 9 years old. Her name is Zara. Eleanor stared at him. Excuse me? You heard me. I have a daughter. I just found out. That's impossible. You would have told me if you'd gotten someone pregnant. I didn't know. The mother left before she found out she was pregnant. Or she knew and didn't tell me. Either way, I had no idea until 2 weeks ago. Eleanor's face went through several expressions. Shock, disbelief, then calculation. Who is the mother? That's not relevant. Of course it's relevant. Is she asking for money? Is this some kind of scheme? No, Mother. She's not asking for anything. She's a teacher. She's raised Zara alone for 9 years without a dime from me. A teacher. Eleanor said it like a curse word. What's her name? Marcus hesitated. Naomi Richardson. Eleanor's eyes widened. That woman? The one from Colombia? The one you dated for a few months before you came to your senses? I didn't come to my senses. She left, because you made it very clear she wasn't good enough for this family. I did no such thing. You absolutely did. You asked her what her intentions were. You told her I had responsibilities. You made her feel like an outsider, like she was trying to trap me. Eleanor waved her hand dismissively. I was protecting you. Young women see a Whitmore and see dollar signs. She didn't want my money. She wanted me, and I loved her, and you drove her away. Oh, please. If she truly loved you, she would have fought for you. She would have told you about the baby. She left because she knew you'd make her life hell, and our daughter's life. And she was right, wasn't she? You're already judging a 9-year-old child you've never met. Eleanor stood, her mouth a thin line. I will not be spoken to this way in my own home. Then I'll leave. Marcus stood too. But understand this, Mother. Zara is my daughter. She's your granddaughter. I'm going to be part of her life. If you can't accept that, if you can't treat her with respect and love, then we have a problem. You're talking about cutting me out of your life over some child you've never even met. She's not some child. She's my daughter. And yes, if I have to choose between you and her, I choose her. Every time. They stared at each other. Eleanor's face was pale, her hands shaking slightly. Marcus had never defied her like this, never stood up to her so completely. I see, Eleanor said finally. You've made your choice. I have. The question is, what's your choice? Because Zara deserves grandparents who love her, who make her feel wanted. If you can be that person, I'd like you in her life. If you can't, then we'll proceed without you. Eleanor sat back down, looking older suddenly. You're serious about this? Completely. She's black, isn't she? The child. She's mixed race. And yes, she's beautiful and brilliant, and she deserves better than your racist bullshit. Eleanor flinched. I'm not racist. You're something. Classist, elitist, whatever you want to call it. But Zara will not grow up feeling like she's less than because of your hang-ups. Eleanor was quiet for a long time. Marcus waited, ready to leave, ready to burn this bridge if he had to. What's her name again? Eleanor asked quietly. Zara. Zara Richardson. And she's 9? Almost 10. What's she like? Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. I don't know yet. I haven't met her. But she's smart, top of her class. She loves reading, especially fantasy novels with dragons. She's being raised by an incredible woman who's given her everything despite doing it alone. And she has my eyes, Mother. She has our eyes. Eleanor's expression softened, just slightly. Your sister's eyes. Yes, and you love her already. I do. Eleanor stood again, smoothing her dress. Then I suppose I should meet her. When you meet her. If she wants to meet me. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I'm not promising anything except to try. But Marcus, if this woman is trying to manipulate you, if she's using this child to get money, she's not. I promise you she's not. Eleanor nodded. We'll see. Now go. I need to think. Marcus left, his hands shaking on the steering wheel. That had gone better than expected. Not great, but better. His phone rang. Naomi, I showed Zara your picture, she said. Marcus held his breath. She said you look nice. She said your eyes look like her eyes. She said she wants to meet you. Marcus pulled over, his vision blurring. She does? Yes. Dr. Chen suggested next Saturday, 2 o'clock. There's a park near our apartment, Oak Grove Park. We'll meet you there. You'll have 1 hour. Dr. Chen will be there observing, but not interfering unless necessary. Can you do that? Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Marcus, she's nervous. She might not talk much. She might not warm up to you right away. You need to be okay with that. I am. Whatever she needs. I'll follow her lead. Okay. I'll text you the details. Marcus sat in his car for 20 minutes crying. Not sad tears. Relieved tears. Hopeful tears. He was going to meet his daughter in 1 week. That week moved both impossibly slowly and terrifyingly fast. Marcus bought children's books, then worried that was presumptuous. He researched parks and playgrounds, trying to figure out what 9-year-old girls liked. He asked Patricia if she had kids, if she had advice. She looked at him like he'd grown a second head. Friday night, he couldn't sleep at all. Saturday morning, he changed clothes 4 times, trying to find something that looked approachable, but not sloppy. He settled on jeans and a button-down shirt, casual but put together. Thomas drove him to Oak Grove Park. It was a beautiful day, crisp fall air, leaves turning gold and red. Families dotted the playground. Marcus spotted Naomi immediately. She was sitting on a bench, and next to her, fidgeting with her hands, was Zara. Marcus's breath caught. She was so much more real in person than in photos. Smaller than he expected, skinnier, with those 2 puffs of curly hair bouncing as she looked around nervously. She was wearing purple overalls and a white t-shirt. Her purple butterfly clip was in her hair. Dr. Chen stood nearby, giving Marcus a small nod. Marcus walked over slowly, his heart hammering. Naomi stood when she saw him. Zara stayed seated, watching him approach with those green eyes, his eyes. "Hi," Marcus said, his voice rough. "Hi," Naomi replied. "Zara, this is Marcus." Zara didn't say anything, just stared at him. Marcus sat down on the bench, leaving space between them. "Hi, Zara. It's really nice to meet you." Still nothing. Zara looked at her mother. Naomi gave her an encouraging smile. "You look like your picture," Zara said finally, her voice so quiet Marcus had to strain to hear it. "Thank you. You look like your pictures too. Even more beautiful in person." Zara's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Mom says you run a company that makes learning games." "That's right. We make software that helps kids learn math and reading. Have you used any of our programs at your school?" "Yeah, the math one. It's okay." "Just okay?" Marcus smiled. "I'll have to tell our programmers to make it better." "The reading one is good. I finished all the levels." "Really? That's impressive. Your mom said you love reading. What's your favorite book?" Zara's face lit up for the first time. "The Wings of Fire series. It's about dragons. Have you read it?" "I haven't, but I'd like to. Maybe you could tell me about it." And just like that, Zara started talking about dragons and tribes and prophecies and her favorite characters. Marcus listened, really listened, watching the way her hands moved when she got excited, the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about the parts she loved. After 10 minutes, she stopped abruptly. "Sorry. Mom says I talk too much about books." "No," Marcus said quickly. "Don't apologize. I could listen to you talk about books all day. You're clearly very smart." Zara ducked her head, smiling. "Mom says I get that from her. I bet you get it from both of us. I was always pretty good at school, too." "What was your favorite subject?" "History. I loved learning about how things used to be, how they changed over time." "I like history, too. We're learning about ancient Egypt. Did you know they had female pharaohs?" "I did know that. Hatshepsut, right?" Zara's eyes widened. "Yes. She was so cool. She ruled for like 20 years and nobody could stop her." They talked about ancient Egypt, about pyramids and mummies and hieroglyphics. Naomi sat quietly, watching. At one point, Marcus glanced at her and saw tears on her cheeks. Happy tears, he thought. Or hoped. After 45 minutes, Zara said, "Can we go swing?" Marcus looked at Naomi. She nodded. They walked to the swings together, Zara between Marcus and Naomi. Marcus pushed her on the swing, careful not to push too high. She shrieked with laughter, the sound punching straight through his heart. "Higher!" she yelled. "You sure?" "I'm sure." He pushed higher. Zara's laughter filled the air. When she finally jumped off, stumbling a little, Marcus instinctively reached out to steady her. She grabbed his hand for just a second, then let go, running to the slide. Marcus looked at his hand like it held something precious. That brief touch, his daughter's hand in his. Too soon, the hour was up. Dr. Chen approached gently. "Time to wrap up." Zara's face fell. "Already?" "I'm afraid so," Dr. Chen said. "But if today went well, maybe you can see Marcus again soon." Zara looked up at Marcus. "Can we?" Marcus felt his throat close up. "I'd really like that. If you want to." "I want to." "Can you come next Saturday too?" "Absolutely." Zara smiled, a real, genuine smile. Then, surprising everyone, she stepped forward and hugged him quickly before running back to Naomi. Marcus stood frozen, his arms barely processing the hug before it was over. The spot where she'd touched him felt warm, alive. "Bye, Marcus," Zara called, waving. "Bye, Zara. I'll see you next week." Naomi walked Zara toward their car, but she looked back once. Marcus caught her eye. She was crying openly now, but she was smiling too. She mouthed, "Thank you." Marcus watched them drive away, then turned to Dr. Chen. "How did I do?" "You did beautifully," she said. You followed her lead. You listened. You were present. That's exactly what she needed. Can I see her again? Really? Yes. We'll increase the visits gradually. Same time next week. After a few more meetings, if things continue going well, maybe we can move to longer visits, different activities. But Marcus, this is just the beginning. The real work comes later, when the novelty wears off, when she tests boundaries, when things get hard. I know. I'm ready. I believe you might be. Over the next 3 months, Marcus saw Zara every Saturday. 2 hours at first, then 3, then 4. They went to the park, to museums, to the zoo. They got ice cream and hot chocolate. They talked about books and school and music and everything. Slowly, carefully, they built something. Not a traditional father-daughter relationship, not yet, but a foundation. Trust, affection, the beginning of love. Naomi watched it all, sometimes joining them, sometimes giving them space. She and Marcus talked more too, rebuilding their own connection. Not romantic, not anymore, but something softer. Forgiveness, understanding, partnership. In December, Marcus asked if he could give Zara a Christmas present. Naomi hesitated, then agreed. On Christmas Eve, Marcus brought her a first-edition set of the Wings of Fire series, signed by the author. Zara's scream of joy could probably be heard 3 blocks away. She threw her arms around Marcus's neck, squeezing tight. This is the best present ever. Marcus held her, his daughter, and felt complete for the first time in his life. In January, Zara asked if she could call him Dad. Marcus cried right there in the middle of the park. You don't have to if you're not ready. I want to, she said simply. You're my dad. I want to call you Dad. Then yes, please. I'd be honored. In March, for Zara's 10th birthday, Marcus threw her a party. Not some lavish over-the-top affair his mother suggested, but a simple party at a skating rink with Zara's friends from school. Naomi was there, and her sister and her mother. Dr. Chen came too, and to Marcus's surprise, his mother showed up. Eleanor Whitmore walked in with wrapped presents and an uncertain smile. Zara looked at her mother. Naomi nodded. Zara, this is your grandmother. My mother, Eleanor. Eleanor knelt down, her designer dress pooling on the rink floor. Hello, Zara. I've heard so much about you. Your father talks about you constantly. Zara studied her. You're really my grandma? I am. If you'll have me. Do you like dragons? Eleanor looked startled. I don't know much about them. I can teach you, Zara said confidently. Dad says I'm a good teacher. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. I'd like that very much. Zara grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the skating rink, chattering about dragon tribes and prophecies. Eleanor looked back at Marcus, helpless but smiling. Marcus gave her a thumbs up. As the party wound down, Marcus found himself standing with Naomi, watching Zara laugh with her friends. Thank you, he said, for giving me this chance, for letting me into her life. I know it wasn't easy. It wasn't, Naomi agreed, but it was right. She deserves to know you. You're a good dad, Marcus, better than I expected. I'm trying. I know. She knows too. That's what matters. They stood in comfortable silence. Zara skated over, breathless and grinning. Dad, can you skate with me? I'm not very good at skating. That's okay. I'll teach you. I'm a good teacher, remember? Marcus let his 10-year-old daughter pull him onto the ice. He wobbled, nearly fell, caught himself. Zara laughed, holding his hand tight. I've got you, she said. Don't worry. Marcus looked at her. This miracle child. This daughter he'd almost never known. Yeah, he said, his voice thick. You do. You really do. And as they skated together, Zara patient with his clumsy steps, Marcus finally understood what Naomi had been protecting all these years. This pure, uncomplicated love. This bond between parent and child that transcended biology, transcended time, transcended everything he thought mattered before. He'd spent 38 years building an empire, chasing success, proving his worth to a mother who would never be satisfied. And it had all felt empty. This was what mattered. This little girl's hand in his. Her laughter, her trust, her love. Later that night, after the party was over and the guests had left, Marcus helped Naomi carry presents to their car. Zara had fallen asleep in the back seat, exhausted and happy. She had a good day, Naomi said softly. The best day, Marcus agreed. Marcus, I need to tell you something. I'm sorry. For leaving the way I did. For not telling you about her. For depriving you of 9 years. I thought I was protecting her, protecting both of us. But I was also scared. And I let that fear make my decisions. You did what you thought was right. You raised an incredible daughter. I can't be angry about that. But you could have known her from the beginning. You missed so much. I did. And that hurts. But I can't change it. All I can do is be here now, for whatever comes next. Naomi wiped her eyes. She loves you, you know. She told me yesterday that she's glad she has a dad now. That she used to feel like something was missing. But now it's not missing anymore. Marcus's vision blurred. I love her too. So much it scares me. Good. That's what being a parent feels like. Terror and joy in equal measure. They loaded the last of the presents. Marcus looked at Zara sleeping in the car, her face peaceful, her dragon book clutched in her arms even in sleep. Thank you, he said again. For this. For her. For everything. Naomi hugged him, quick and fierce. Thank you for showing up. For fighting to be here. For proving me wrong about you. Wrong how? I thought you'd get bored, that you'd lose interest once the novelty wore off. But you didn't. You showed up every week, every single week, no matter what. You learned what she liked. You listened to her. You became exactly what she needed. I was wrong about you, Marcus. You're a good man. A better man than I gave you credit for. They stood in the parking lot. Two people who'd loved each other once. Who'd created something beautiful together. Who'd found their way back to each other through their daughter. Drive safe, Marcus said. Always do. He watched them drive away, his family, and felt something settle in his chest. Peace. Belonging. Purpose. His phone rang. Patricia. Marcus, I know it's late, but the Tokyo deal is falling apart and they need you on a call right now. A year ago, he would have said yes immediately. Would have dropped everything for the Tokyo deal. But now he looked at his watch. At the time, he'd promised Zara he'd call her before bed to say goodnight. Tell them tomorrow. I have something more important to do. He hung up before Patricia could argue. He called Naomi. She picked up on the second ring. Did you forget something? Can you put me on speaker? I want to say goodnight to Zara. She's still asleep. Then just let me talk to her anyway. Please. He heard rustling, then Zara's sleepy voice. Dad? Hey, sweetheart. I just wanted to say I had the best time today. Happy birthday. Thanks, Dad. I had the best time too. I love you. 3 words. Simple words. Words he'd never thought he'd hear from his daughter. I love you too, Zara. So much. Sleep well. I'll see you next Saturday. Okay. Bye, Dad. Bye, sweetheart. The line went dead. Marcus stood in the empty parking lot, his phone still pressed to his ear, and let himself cry. Happy tears. Grateful tears. Overwhelmed tears. He had a daughter. She loved him. She called him Dad. His empire, his money, his success, none of it mattered compared to this. To being someone's father. To being Zara's father. He drove home through the city lights, already planning next Saturday's visit. Maybe they'd go to the bookstore, let Zara pick out more dragon books. Maybe they'd get pizza and talk about school. Maybe they'd just hang out at the park. Whatever Zara wanted. Whatever she needed. He'd be there. For the first time in 38 years, Marcus Whitmore knew exactly who he was supposed to be. He was Zara's dad. And that was enough. More than enough. That was everything.